Good morning, everybody. It is Friday. It is a great Friday, second Friday of June. It's going to be a great day. Friday Friends Day is live here. We're going to be talking about what's the best baseball movie. We have three options that we're going to take a look at, see what's going on with that. We're going to play a little acronym bingo. Okay, there are lots of acronyms in our industry. Why do we use them? What are they? Which ones are important? What do we need to know about them? We're going to talk about how do we do phone call sales, and we're going to end with some incredible heroes where we celebrate and give inspirations for things that are inspiring us this week. All this on the High Five. Let's go.
The time has come, the questions are set, opinions hide, discussions are led, show nothing and everything, it's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the high.
All right, everybody, it's time to get going to see the exciting things of the world around us. And in our screen here right now, looking at beautiful on the left-hand side. Let's go to Colorado first. The left-hand side man, the myth, the legend, the one who lives with the elk, has incredible golf skills, and he continues to lead us daily to new heights. And last night he celebrated his father-in-law's birthday. What a good guy. How are you, Danny Shard?
I'm doing good. Happy Friday, Nate, Brian, PPT Nation. I appreciate, Nate, you going to the best looking first on the intros today. That's a great way to start the show.
Well, because sometimes I go age before beauty. Today I went beauty before age, and so now I will get to the age, the man who has much wisdom, but sometimes doesn't know how to get out of his own way. He's living as a Cubs season ticket holder, and unfortunately is not getting to go to any games this year. That's just how it rolls, but he still brings the thunder, absolutely knows how to make us all feel better about ourselves, and will make sure that everything is taken care of. The man, the wolf, Mr. Brian Linke. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Nate. Friday, sunny Friday in Warsaw, Indiana. Weekend's supposed to be mid-70s. Now the cloud in the sky the whole weekend. So, I'm looking forward to getting out of here and enjoying it.
Oh, it's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be beautiful weather, absolutely. What's it going to be like there in Colorado, Danny?
Gorgeous. We actually have a big golf tournament this weekend. So I'm the first one off, 7:30 tomorrow morning. So that means I'm going to be the leader in the clubhouse, at least for a little bit. So I've got that to look forward to. But it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend in Colorado.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so looking forward to it this weekend. I'm going to take a couple walks. I'm going to get a little outside time. And I'm looking outside the window right now and beautiful sunshine. I take that any day. So let's get started. We're going to talk about lots of things today. But we haven't done a good sports talk in a while. And we haven't done it. This is Sports Meets Movie. And I have no idea what these guys are going to say. But I'm interested in what they think is going to be the best sports movie between these three. The Natural, the incredible shoot it off the lights and let the sparks fly as the movie ends, Bull Durham, or Field of Dreams. I know Brian Linke is going to have an opinion here. Brian, what say you?
Okay, again, this is an easy one. The best baseball movie of all time is Bull Durham, and it's not even close. Let me just say a little funny story. There's actually a bar in Detroit, Michigan that I actually bought. If I'd have known this was the question, I probably should have looked at it last night. But there's a bar in Detroit, Michigan. The name of the bar is Nemo's. And Nemo's has a sweatshirt, or it did anyway. And I actually own it, and I'll bring it in next week. But it had the quote. It has the quote of Crash Davis on the back of the sweatshirt. And I'll read it to you real quick. And this is the PG version. It says, "Well, I believe in the soul, the small of a woman's back, the hanging curveball, high fiber, good scotch, that the novels of Susan Sontag are self-indulgent, overrated crap. I believe Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. I believe there ought to be a constitutional amendment outlawing AstroTurf and the designated hitter. I believe in the sweet spot, softcore pornography, opening your presents Christmas morning rather than Christmas Eve, and I believe in long, slow, deep, soft, wet kisses that last 3 days. Okay, that is on the back of a sweatshirt that I own in my house. So as soon as I saw it, I'm like, okay, put it on the bill because I'm walking out of here with it. So Bull Durham, hands down.
All right, Danny Shard, do you have anything to go up against that? You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, sorry. That was impressive. I don't have a quote. I was not that prepared. Pre-show, I actually quoted The Sandlot, which is one of my all-time, but it's not on this list. And I have to agree with Brian. I actually just watched The Natural the other day, though. Great movie. But nothing touches Bull Durham. It is the best. And what I think about when Bull Durham is the infamous manager speech to pump his team up when they're just losing every game, right? And it's, you're lollygagging down to first base. You're lollygagging out to the field. You know what that makes you? Lollygaggers. And that was that Arliss, I think it was. So
yeah, well, okay. The other one was when the guy came out to the mound and he's talking to the pitcher and he's like, okay, well, candlesticks always make a nice gift, right? And right, maybe you could go find out. I'm reading this where she's registered and maybe a place setting or maybe a silverware pattern. And he says, okay, let's get two. Go get them.
He goes out and solves the entire team's problems as they're visiting the mound, and then just tells them to go get them. So a great movie, one of the best.
Yep.
I don't know if it is the best though.
Here obviously there's controversy, and that's why you have to choose and go with smaller portions on these. I love. I Field of Dreams just still is my feel-good movie, and so it's not as pure of a baseball movie, though it's trying to go Shoeless Joe Jackson and coming out of the corn. But I was so looking forward to this. The Cubs were going to be playing against the Cardinals on a new field this year at the Field of Dreams cornfield where they filmed it, and I thought that was going to be an excellent television experience, and I think a couple thousand fans that were going to be able to be there, and it's not going to happen. I hope it happens again in 2021. I would have chosen Field of Dreams. Just for some reason, it's nostalgic. It's one of those Kevin Costner movies that I still enjoy, and that's where I would have gone. But Bull Durham, very good answer, and winner. If I got to choose a winner for this time, it's Brian Linke bringing the quote. If you'd worn the sweatshirt, going over the top. He made it one.
It's coming next week. I promise.
What a quote!
I know.
Well played, Brian.
Trust me. When I saw that on the back of the sweatshirt in the bar, okay, I'm like, okay, how does not everybody has to buy it? I don't care. I don't care how much it costs. I don't care what. Put it on the bill. Put it on the bill.
Oh, I love it. All right. So next thing up, we're going to play a little bit of acronym bingo. And that's, what does it mean? How many are there? I mean, Danny, let's be honest. In our industry, there are a lot of acronyms that are going on all the time. And part of it's just because we're trying to shorten the conversation, right? I mean, we're just trying to make it go faster.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, but there's an acronym for everything. I actually had this conversation with another partner yesterday, and it can be confusing. The amount of brands, the amount of acronyms and definitions and terminology. It's, I'm learning something new every day. I've been at it almost 20 years.
I don't find it confusing at all.
Yeah.
Brian's got it all taken care of. Well, it made me think of this yesterday when somebody said, well, why do I keep hearing this word PPE? And we were talking about, put a video out about it. And I was like, there are a lot of acronyms, and it's part of life. Everybody does it. But then when you get into a new industry, or you just come into a place. And so I thought, let's do a little acronym bingo, kind of to answer what some of these mean. So let's start out with these three. We're going to start in the lower left-hand corner here. PCI. Let's let Danny take this one. We've talked about it. We did a whole section on this, but PCI, this is an important one if you're going to be in the payments industry. And really, if you're going to accept payments, you need to know those three letters, right?
You do, yeah. Payment card industry, that's pretty important.
So, and PCI often will go together with PCI DSS, and I probably should have been because we can't even make it short. We have to go 6 letters long. But PCI, Danny, PCI, we always refer to it usually just as PCI. What is that? The one sentence answer of what that is.
PCI DSS, data security standard, is the DSS, and it's really just the concept for merchants to keep everything secure as they're accepting payments.
Then let's take another look here at this one. The POS, and that does not stand for piece of, you know what? It stands for point of sale. Brian Linke, this one gets a little bit confusing because it can be used. I mean, how do you? Somebody says, well, what's a point of sale? How do you define it?
I define it as just another way to accept payments. Examples can be used in just about every restaurant, right? I think, Danny, they have in the golf, in your pro shop, they've got a POS system there, right? The point of sale system there. I noticed. So just about everywhere you go that takes orders or is a point of sale. But I will tell you that when my son was hired as an intern, Nate, he thought it stood for the acronym that you had mentioned. So so until he was informed. So
I think a lot of partners can relate to that as well. And Brian, you're right. I mean, this the POS, Nate, and kind of where you're leading into is it's more broad, right? Obviously, now as technology has progressed, we've kind of transitioned the definition to POS, meaning the bigger players, right, with more robust features and clock in, clock out, and menus and kitchen ordering and inventory of those things. When in reality, a POS, a point of sale, is any system at the front of the house or wherever the merchant is taking the payment, right? It's the point of sale. It's where they're actually taking the payment. So you could even consider a terminal or a mobile reader a POS in that definition. But in our world, it's you got mobile, you got terminals, you got gateways, and you got POS, which is the bigger, badder, better pieces of equipment.
I actually talked to a partner the other day about it, and we had talked about. I mean, forget taking payments and that, but what it does too for a lot, especially a lot of restaurants, it gives them an idea of the inventory that they're buying, and there's a lot of things on a lot of menus that nobody ever orders, and I tell people you can save money with a point of sale system without selling anything. Right, you can save money just by the things that you're not selling, not having to buy again. I mean, why would you buy something to sell it if you're not selling it? So I think a lot of restaurants and a lot of places that do a lot of ordering don't know that unless they see it, and I just think that's a good way to sell it.
Well, gentlemen, on that, let's go to that last one on the screen here. And that was, jumping up was, I have to get it back up. I forgot. ISO. In fact, I had somebody, this is what I thought yesterday. I was on a conversation with somebody too, and they said ISO. And I was like, I always just say ISO. Is that, but it's ISO. Those are letters. But Independent Sales Organization. But that's extremely important in our, and I could have used ISV. That's another set that we have, another one, independent sales vendor. But ISO, Danny, why is that an important one in our industry?
Independent Sales Organization. That's there's several different layers and tiers of ISO, right? A lot of our partners are ISOs, but you also can consider them MSPs, right? Which is a merchant service salesperson or a merchant salesperson. So the ISO has so many different levels, but it's really just about acquiring merchant accounts. You've got small ISOs, mid-level ISOs, and then you got your super ISOs, and it's all on the acquisition of merchants.
Well, and it's becoming more and more. Like we often say, we service ISOs. So sometimes that is the offices that we are helping sell the products that we have in the PayProTech family. And so we're providing and supporting them, but they're totally independent. They are not they have a contract with us, but they are not beholden to us. They don't have any non-competes. They're completely independent. They can sell for other companies. And this is the world. I think I was looking up the other day because somebody asked me how long I would term. It really did come out from what it looks like. What I was reading is it came out of the insurance world. Brian, I'm going to guess that word. Did you hear that word when you were starting out, even in New York, when you started in sales? And
the answer to that question is no.
No, that's a new word to you.
No.
Okay. And you didn't hear it until you got into the payments business?
That's right.
All right. It's interesting. It's always so. I mean, that's why we do this. So everybody has the word, because you'll hear us say ISOs quite a bit, and we want to make sure you get make sure you have all the best information. All right.
I can tell you this: you walk into a room with 10, 50-year-olds. I guarantee you ask them what ISO means, and I promise you, if it's 2 out of 10, it's a lot.
Yep. Well, here we got 3 last ones. I don't know how many I could have came up with, but I tried to. These are the ones that I thought were the most commonly used in our system and that we hear people talking about all the time. And let's go with, I'll start with API. The application API is just simply the software interconnection between the code that connects 2 pieces of software. And we hear that again. Brian, you were saying beforehand, that's not something most of our partners need to hear about. No one's asked you about the API, but it's something that we hear in our world quite a bit.
Well, I actually asked that question, and I got yelled at by Mr. Shard because he completely disagrees with that. And I understand why now. It's just that I just never, when I'm out selling, I mean, that's just, I guess I don't sell to those kinds of merchants, but Danny can elaborate a little bit more, because I said, that's exactly what I told Danny on the way in this morning, and he yelled at me.
He yelled at me.
Danny, do you hear that often?
Nate, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
So API, and Nate, you'll probably laugh at the way I explain this to Brian, but it's just trying to simplify it. I explain the API as it's obvious, it's application program interface, and it's more or less a software. The way I've explained it is it's kind of the glue between 2 softwares, bringing them together. I guess that's the simplest way I could explain it. And then I use the example of a shopping cart on a website would connect to authorize.net via the API. And so that API would necessarily be that glue bringing them together. But then there's so many different ways that APIs are used to connect to systems like this. Think of that as the shopping cart is on the front end collecting the data. It sends that data via the API to authorize.net to actually process the payment and send that to the processor. So that was kind of the simplest way I could explain it. But I think it's important for partners to know, right? There's a lot of integration capabilities, and a lot of those are done via APIs.
Yep. Well, and there's a sister word to that, or a brother word, I don't know which way to call it, SDK, which is Software Development Kit. Yep. So you have the API, which is really 2 softwares talking to each other. But SDK is the software that's on a piece of hardware. Like, I'll pull up Danny here. He's got a piece of hardware. He's got a Pay Anywhere, a PAX E500 there behind him. There's a 600 sitting next to him. And those things have SDKs that you can write to. So a person who has a piece of software can actually write to that SDK and use that hardware with their software. But then API is just usually 2 pieces of software talking to each other, and they're passing information back and forth. So it's just important to know sometimes. It's not the most rocket science, but let's go to 2 other that I think are probably really, really important to understand. Let's start the BIPs, the BPS. Brian Linke, can you explain to me what a BIP is? I know you didn't know this word until you got into the payments industry.
Absolutely. I did not. And actually, when I got into the industry, and I don't know if the 2 of you, I think both of you were in the room when we were in Vegas at one time, and we were going around the room, and we had a couple of, actually we had one agent who was like, when I first got in, like, a basis point, what's a basis point? And I was the same way. And then when I learned what it was, 1/100th of a percentage, I'm like, okay, like, why is that such a big deal? I mean, it seems to me like it's such a small number that like who would care? And obviously, with the number of transactions that you do, it obviously grows into a bigger number, right, Dan?
Really does. I mean, this conversation about a basis point. This is how revenue is earned in our business, right? What a lot of people don't realize as they're new to the industry is, here's the pricing we're going to set for this merchant, but 80% of that, if not more, is going to go to the card brands, right? That's going to pass through to Visa, MasterCard, Discover. Again, depending on the pricing structure, obviously 80% was just a made up number, but you get my drift. And that's the majority of those rates are set by the card brands that we have no control over. In this industry, we've got a level playing field on the cost on interchange. So the basis points and the per authorizations, that's how we're competitive on traditional pricing. And this is where cash discounts has just changed the game because, we were seeing pre-cash discount back in the, last 10 years, really before cash discount really took off. You got merchants signing up, doing $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month, and the partners lucky to sign them at 20 or 30 basis points, right? To put in perspective of that, a $20,000 a month merchant at 20 basis points is $40 in profit on the volume. Then you're making a little money on the transaction fee if you can, maybe a monthly service charge. But looking at that account, what total revenue might be $50 or $60 all combined on a $20,000 a month merchant. So this is where you just had a lot of partners just grinding to get a little bit of money every month. And that's what the industry was. So that's where people were selling equipment, trying to lease terminals, trying to find ways to make more revenue and make this work for them. Because the basis points, those BPS, it just wasn't enough. I mean, they were shrinking, they were getting down, and one basis point is minimal unless you're talking about a significant amount of volume. So, the basis point's important to know, but gosh, I really hope a lot of you don't have to price a merchant at 1 or 2 basis points.
Well, and I mean, to me, I've been able to, when talking to merchants, to help them understand, look, don't look at me when it comes to the profit. I measure my profit, even in the cash discount world. I still use basis points, even though it goes up to 100 basis points sometimes or more. But I want to say, hey, we measure our profit in basis points. Don't look at us when all the fees are coming in because we're a small portion of that. We measure it in bips. Over there, they're measuring it in full points. And there's a difference on that when you talk about it, because when you talk about a point, you're talking about a whole percentage. And for us, we're just doing basis points. But there is a way to be extremely profitable in the pennies and the fraction of the pennies when you start adding them all together. And that's what makes this business incredibly magical and a little frustrating at times, right, Dan?
That's right. Absolutely. It's all shapes and sizes of this pricing structures that we've got to work with. And, like Brian Linke says best, right? We're just trying to get some of the crumbs, and those crumbs add up to a lot, especially as you work hard and sign a lot of merchants.
We're just trying to make a cookie. That's what we're doing. All right. And our last little word and acronym as we finish up Acronym Bingo is a BIN, Bank Identification Number. This is one I definitely did not know until I was in the payments industry. Danny, can you walk us through a little bit what a BIN is?
There's a few different things it is, but on the ISO side, as a registered ISO, you are registered with a BIN to the sponsor bank and the processor that you're working with. So back whenever I started in the industry, we were with Global Payments, and our BIN was, I should remember this, I think it was 08600, I want to say. So that was our BIN, and that basically assigned merchants that we boarded through their channels specifically to the ISO, right? And then you've got BINs, bank identification number, specifically for banks and issuing banks that issue cards. So a lot of different ways a BIN can be used. In the ISO channel, it's direct to sponsor bank registration and assigning those MIDs to that ISO.
Dan, is there a fee associated with that?
A lot of companies do have a BIN fee that they charge to the sales partner. And the majority of times that is a way to create additional profit levels for the ISO. PayProtect doesn't do that. We pass through, we've got a 0 BIN fee. We share in the profits that the partner makes and that the partner sets on the deal. be it large or small, and there's no bin fee. We don't have any padded costs there that we're making money before the partner is.
Just real quick, and that's just something that, I'll just piggyback on a little bit. When we talk to partners, when we're trying to recruit partners and partners are trying to recruit us, and like, oh, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. That's something that I don't think a lot of people look at. And, when you come to look at it, if you're you're looking at some ISOs that are charging bin fees, you really need to look at your Schedule A and check it out, because we're not charging that.
Absolutely, that's so important. So moving on, whoops, that's not the right one. I put the wrong one up there again. But the bin fees, they're important to know a little bit, but a few acronyms we got through. Let's move on to our next topic, which is contactless payments. This is all the rage. I did a search last night on just Google News. In the last 7 days, contactless payments in news stories has been used over 100,000 times in the U.S. So it's something that's trending. You don't see words that are in our world trend all that often. And but it's been around for a while, this contactless payments, but now it takes on a whole new meaning. It's not just about convenience, it's now about security and protection. Danny, can you talk to us a little bit about the different ways that we have contactless payments in the ecosystem here at PaperProtect?
Absolutely. Brian, do you want to jump in on this one?
No, I'll let you go with this, Dan.
Okay, that's fine. So contactless, I just have to, I love messing with Brian, but he knows this stuff even better than I do. But so contactless is, you've seen the tap, dip, swipe on a card or on a terminal or a POS system. I mean, there's cards out there that you can tap and it takes the payment, right? But taking it even a step further, you're talking mobile processing basically, and Apple Pay and Google Pay, and what is it, Android Pay, Nate? Is that the other one?
Google Pay. Yeah, but Samsung Pay has their own Samsung
Pay now. So this is the ability for, and a lot of you might not use it. I use mine all the time. I rarely even carry my wallet with me anymore. Because if I can go into a store or grocery store, I've got my cell phone on me, I'm paying right there with my phone, and I get anywhere within, half a foot or, 2 feet of that terminal with my Apple Pay enabled, and boom, it takes the payment. I don't have to touch a thing. And this is where Nate's really, what you're talking about, man, is it's like, it's so popular right now. Obviously, people don't want to touch anything, right? So here we are trying to help partners and new merchants. We're sending out PPE packages, gloves and hand sanitizers and masks and things like that to make people feel safe. But the reality is people just don't want to touch anything, but they still want to go out. And the best way to get that customer to feel safe, in addition to all those things, is give them a way that they don't even have to hand you a card that you have to receive back. Let the customer run the transaction, or ideally let them do it with their phone. We've got Pay Anywhere solutions. We've got all of our terminals do Apple Pay, and then even several of our POS systems that use these additional terminals for the semi-integration, they can do Apple Pay as well. Paradise, Retail Cloud, Vend, they all have Apple Pay and these types of capabilities. So extremely popular, and it's a huge selling point. If a merchant currently does not have that on their terminal, talk to them about it. And it's more than just on the terminal, right? Get them an external device, get them a PIN pad that is going to be right there in front of the customer. So the customer sees the amount and the customer puts it up. That way the merchant's not flipping the terminal around and the customer's doing it like that. There's a few ways that you can make it a lot easier for the merchant and the customer.
Well, and even more so now, we're seeing that we're learning that contactless isn't always, it's just the ability of not touching anything across from each other. And it was a convenience before, and I loved it. I've loved it for, I don't know, what's Apple Pay been around, 4 years, something like that, 5 years. I've jumped in. I use it everywhere I possibly can. I'm an early adopter on anything like that. I love that I can just scan, here's my face, boom, put there, and I'm out. That's not have to touch anything, move, and go. But now we're going to be seeing people. I'll shout out to Dan Keepan, and I know this is. I think you probably have seen this video too, Danny, of Hot Sauce creating their new QR code, so you can just shoot the little QR code and so you do the QR code, the menu comes up, you online order from your table, even though you're present in the dining room, you order it, you do your payment, you can put your tip, and then it just automatically sends to the POS just like they had done if the person had been served by a server who had walked up to them and taken physical menus and all that. It can be easy to become contactless now, and we have lots of options to do that. Brian, in Warsaw, Indiana, northern Indiana, as things have opened back up, are you seeing more people using contactless payments, or is it still people hindering there?
It's so funny because when I talked to Danny a while ago, and he says that he pays with his phone for just about everything. Now, after he told me that, now I'm paying a lot more attention to it. I'm not doing it yet because I just learned that I could text with my voice. So I'm
That's
getting
okay.
there.
But you're getting there.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
Right.
There. But no, the answer to your question is yes. I'm seeing more of it. Obviously the age group is a little bit younger than I am, but again, I think it's just like everything else. I think just over time, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of it, if not, all of it, especially now that, now that we're, in this world of contact. I mean, no one's touching anything anymore.
Right.
Well, I think as I've been watching the news, and I was talking to a customer of ours in Arizona yesterday, and they were talking about they've seen an uptick in some of the cases. They're watching, does that, what's that mean? We're all kind of waiting, we've got to wait 2 weeks to see what, these events do and what happens and what changes, how many cases we have. But as that conversation goes, I think merchants are becoming more and more aware that they need to do everything they can. And so I think that conversation is open. And so if you're one of our partners, if you're considering working with PayProTech, make sure you're talking about contactless options. They may already have it, and a great value add, even if they're using a competitor and say, hey, that VX520, I think it already does Apple Pay. But let me tell you about one step further if you could use, and then know another solution that's better than that. And be able to start that conversation, because contactless is not going away. I'm sure we'll bring it up again in the weeks to come, because this is a conversation that has to be had and is now front of the mind of all of our business owners and merchants.
Totally agree.
Yep. All right, gentlemen, it is Friday, and we're only going to do 4 topics. I was going to do another one, but we're already at 30 minutes, and
keep it going. We're going to do some Friday heroes and inspiration. What I'd love to know, gentlemen, are who are some people that are inspiring you? What are some things that have inspired you this last week as you've listened to stories, whatever it is around the world? What are some things that have inspired you? I don't know who wants to go first. I'll let you guys choose.
I'll take it first. Unless you want to go first.
No, please.
Again, I think this is a really easy one. And he's changed the world, and he's not here with us today, but I mean, George Floyd for sure is a hero and an inspiration, right? I mean, there's a guy who just a normal guy, right? Just a normal dude, going in and using an ATM machine, and what has happened throughout the especially the United States. I mean, he has changed the world. And he's continuing to change the world, and I just think that he is by far and away the biggest hero. As especially, anybody who can take the limelight away from the COVID thing, and provide the inspiration for the people living in the United States that he has, and I just think that he's by far and away the biggest hero so far.
All right, how about you, Danny? What say you?
I agree, Brian. That was really good. My inspiration has been my little boy. It's I think in all this craziness that's out there right now, it's been something that I've been trying to do, and the looking through the world through his eyes right now, it's so simple, right? And it's there's not a lot of this hectic craziness going on, and I try to use that as an inspiration for me to stay focused and what what I'm here to do and what I can try to do for other people. But I love what you just said, Brian. That's huge. And, there's so much craziness going on in the world today, and there's so much support that we can give to a lot of people that are going through this and trying to make changes in the world, like we all are, big or small. So
I saw something yesterday on the news. A guy who he went and I can't remember what he's called, but he went and he hibernated in the woods for what was it, 60 days, yep. and all he did was meditate, right? And he didn't have a phone, he didn't have a computer, he didn't have a TV, not a newspaper, not a radio, nothing. So when he went in, okay, the world was what it was, and when he came out, okay, the world was a completely different place. And it was, I just thought it was interesting that, I can only, I can't even imagine it because, can you imagine a day without, I don't know, using your computer or your phone, or I'm not sure that any of us can, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing.
I do. I think that's interesting, Brian. I think there are so many people that are doing great things that, we always think, what can we do? What can happen? Well, how the world can totally change in 60 days. And the voices of the unheard are now being heard, and I really do believe we've turned a corner, that is going to continue, and those voices of hate and anger are being marginalized, and we need to continue standing up and being a voice. And I wanted to highlight, I was going to bring up the picture of her book, but I read a book this week called Be the Bridge by Latasha Morrison. And she runs an organization out of Georgia called Be the Bridge, and is talking about racial reconciliation. And her voice is very strong on the things that really, as an African-American black woman, she's helping those of us who are white understand and be able to be the bridge to understand what's going on. And it was really encouraging. It was a great book. She has a new podcast that I haven't listened to yet, but it just started this week, as she's trying to engage in this situation. She has a whole team of people that are doing that and saying, let's be the bridge of reconciliation. We have a lot of work to do, and it's hard work to do, and self-awareness in all of us. But in this time, this day and the age, we have hope, and I really believe that is coming, and can so thankful for those who are leading and speaking up for those who have not been spoken up for, so that things like George Floyd don't happen again. And unfortunately, I do think it will happen again, but hopefully it'll be less and less, and the voices will be heard, and we will find new systems and new ways to be the best that we can be. Gentlemen, as we close up, I'm going to bring up a little music, and I would love to know, Dan, let's go to Brian Linke first. I see him pulling up. He has a video recommendation. What do you got, Brian?
So every couple of weeks, I think 2 weeks ago I brought up the movie Tin Men. I don't know if anybody's watched it, but and I know the weather's supposed to be beautiful around most of the country this weekend, so I think everybody's going to be outside. But if you have some time, here's another one. Okay, and this one I think is maybe the greatest sales movie of all time. And a lot of people haven't heard of it, haven't watched it, but it's called
Glenn Ross.
Okay, and again, a lot of people don't realize that the cast in this, Al Pacino and Alec Baldwin and Kevin Spacey,
never heard of them.
Those guys are. It's in their early days, so a lot of them you probably won't recognize as of what they look like today. But if you have a chance, Glenn Ross for sure. If you're a salesperson, you need to watch it.
All right, I love Brian. Love it, Brian. Great recommendation. And Danny, what do you got?
Amazing movie. I second that. Coffee's for Closers. You got to watch it. It's been an amazing start to June. I had my mom on this week on the High Five. Thank you, Nate, for making that happen. And she's a good partner of ours as well. So just been an exciting week at Paper Tech. We got a lot going on. We announced our PPE promotion yesterday. We're trying to do everything we can to help you as a partner out there in the field. So lean on us, let us know we can help, and keep taking advantage of June, because things are looking great.
All right, on that, we're going to close out another week of High Five.
We'll be back this next week. Danny and Brian will be with us Tuesday and Friday next week. You just get just me on Monday. We got all kinds of cool things planned. I'm confirming them up. We'll announce them on Monday. Hopefully everybody will confirm and accept their calendar invites that just went out. And I am so thankful for all of you who are listening, watching, engaging. I love it when I get on a phone call and somebody says, hey, I've been watching this. And I'm like, I didn't know you were watching. That's great. Thank you so much for doing that. This has been another edition of the High Five. And for that, we'll close off our last week with exciting, let's get some high fives going, gentlemen. We'll see you next week.
Discussions are led, a show about nothing and everything. It's all the same. We've got sports, entertainment, sales, and marketing. It's time for the high five.
High five.
We've got it all covered. It's time for the high five. We've got it all covered. Yeah. The high five.
The high five.